Alrighty, gentlemen, so we're here at Elk River for the rounds 5 and 6 for the Champ Off-Road. Pro Light drivers TREY GIBBS Jr. and Matt Wood. And missing in the middle, Kyle Greaves. Got a taste of Pro 4 and it's too good for a Pro Light press conference. So speaking of, Kyle Greaves is scared of rain. What do you guys think about that?
You and me first.
Oh, you guys can then pick up the mic too.
Oh, you can go first.
Well, I mean, he said it, not me, but I'll take it. I always like to go out and racing. I mean, we're all on the same course, driving the same track, so it is what it is. And either way, we're gonna go out there and throw it down, whatever we got.
Yeah, I gotta pick on KGB a little bit. He's from Wisconsin. He should be used to rain a little bit more than that. I mean, the Michigan boy and the California boy are here together, so I don't know. He's going to have to bring his game tomorrow if it keeps raining. That's all I can say.
So obviously you guys are second and third in points. With KGB jumping in the Pro 4, did you guys view that as a potential opportunity where his mind was somewhere else during those Pro Light races? Or did you just think like, hey, he's out there getting more experience, more track time in the seat?
I kind of felt like it was a struggle for him actually to swap back and forth. Since he wasn't used to it, it kind of took him a little while to get back into the mindset of which truck he was in. So I think it was an advantage actually, because I mean he wasn't two completely different animals when you hop in them. So I think it was a help to everybody else in the class, because I mean when he's spot on, he's hard to catch for sure. So I think it helped us, but I don't know, we'll see. We're getting quicker too, so we're going to try to knock him off that top spot.
I'm gonna have to completely disagree. I think just from my racing experience and being in different cars, I think when you go to a car that's bigger and even faster, and then you go and jump back in the slower vehicle, it slows everything down. So he's going from a Pro 4 to a Pro Light, and that transition, yes, one's four-wheel drive, one's two-wheel, which I will say I think he struggled in the first couple laps, but the second he kind of got back into the two-wheel drive mindset is when everything slowed down. And I think that's doing that big of a jump from going from 1,000 horsepower to only 500, two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive, and a couple 100 pounds difference. I think that made a huge difference, because just like I said, from my experience, going from a bigger car back down to the smaller car, once you make that transition back down to the small car, it slows everything down. You can drive it that much harder. You have that much more push. And I think that's, like I said, it helped us in the first couple laps, but I think once he kind of figured it out, that's where he had a couple more mile an hour, was able to push into a corner that much harder than we were. But like he said, we're still fresh. He's got a couple more extra years on us, and we're slowly starting to pick it off, and we're knocking on his back door. So we're going to be here all year long.
So then the question I want for you then, since we're going to stay on you, is at Crandon, you had the lead. Kyle Greaves caught up to you, passed you, but you, Brock, and Kyle were all competing at the end of the year. Last year, Brock's gone. It kind of seems to be the same story. I don't know, what's kind of like the plan or like the mindset for the rest of the year after having raced Crandon and kind of going through him just, I don't want to say picking you off, but essentially kind of getting around you?
Yeah, no, for sure. He's always been super fast at that track. That's always been one of the tracks I kind of struggle at. I've never been super good at the wide open, kind of just open corner. I'm more of a tight technical. So, I mean, absolutely, I had a good lead, and we ended up kind of actually losing some parts in the truck, which kind of we ended up falling off towards the end. But, it's racing. Everybody's got to go through the same thing. And like I said, he's always been fast at Crandon, so I expected him to be on my back bumper. And, honestly, when he got by me, it wasn't a discouragement. It was really just, okay, let's go see what he's doing better and see what I can improve on, or see what I can maybe do better. And, with that being said, going on the rest of the season, I know we have the tighter, more technical tracks coming up. And with us being as close as we are now, I think hopefully I have a good advantage in this kind of later end of the season. And either way, it's gonna I feel like it's gonna be us three kind of all battling it out. So in which I'm a big fan. The more trucks we can put up there, the more that are able to win. It makes it that much better for the fans, and it makes it that much better for us racers. Like, we can go out there and have 3 or 4 guys that can all win at the same time. It makes it that much more exciting for us drivers, because we're coming back to the pits and we're trying to involve, okay, they're doing this, let's maybe try doing this to get faster. And I think that's a good push for the sport too. It's everyone's trying to get faster. When you only have 1 or 2 guys that are fast out there, it kind of gets boring. So the more you put out there, the more the merrier, and I think it's going to be a good season. But I know for sure I still have a lot left in my tank and a lot to figure out, so Kyle better be ready.
Question I got then is for Matt. You've kind of been around the pro light. You've been there, but you haven't been there. This is an opportunity where you're at third in points. You know what I mean? You're poking your nose in it. You're getting your name out there more. What's kind of that mindset for you? Are you excited to kind of be up in the mixture with things, or is it something that you know, like you have that experience to be there, and this is just customary for you?
Yeah, I mean, we're the best way to put it is we're a family, small budget, everything is downsized compared to everybody. So to be able to run with these guys, I mean, they got the best equipment, and we got great equipment too, don't get me wrong, but our budgets are definitely a little bit smaller, and I'm really happy to be where we are right now. I'd like to be at the top spot, and I can't believe that we're able to be around there every weekend. I mean, we're still trying to figure it out, because I went from a side-by-side into the truck, and I only drove the truck like twice before we showed up last year. And after getting a full season in last year, I feel like we got a lot better hold on all the different setups and all the different tracks and everything, and I can push it a little bit more, and we're all kind of at the same pace. It just kind of depends who makes mistakes and who doesn't, and I mean, everybody's pushing it, so I think it's going to be a good year, and we definitely got a little bit to work on, but we're close, so I'm really excited to see if we can knock a couple wins off from Kyle and Trey here and see what we can do.
Anybody else have any questions about? I'm just going to ask them about ERX then. Last 2 questions for you guys then. Being from California, those tracks are kind of something similar to ERX, a little bit more tight, a little bit more technical. Do you feel that this is an opportunity then for you, now that you've got more experience, more seat time, to kind of maybe close in on Kyle and maybe think like, hey, this could be your track? Because guys like RJ flourish here. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely, ERX has always been kind of one of my favorites. A couple years back when I was in the Pro Buggy, we had a super good weekend here. So, for some reason, the elevation changed, the way the track layout, and the way you get your tight kind of banky corners, you have your rhythm section. It's definitely a lot like the kind of West Coast race tracks that I'm used to. So coming in this weekend, I'm definitely confident and hoping that I can close up that gap even more. But, after qualifying today, Kyle went out there and laid down some laps. I was a little off on truck setup, so we're back at the camp right now getting it fixed. So we're good to go racing for tomorrow. But, it's always been good racing here, and we're ready to do it tomorrow.
And for you, Matt, about ERX, I know you're a Michigan guy, and I don't know if Bark River's kind of your jam or.
Yeah, I've always kind of been a Bark River and Crandon guy. I like high speed. I like holding it as far as you can and as long as you can, and trying not to use the brakes at all. So ERX is kind of like the mix in between the short tracks like Lena and Anago and Crandon and that. So you got to have that fine line where you can't just run it all the way into the corner, but you got to set up a little bit earlier. And I'm starting to figure it out, and we're getting there. Our setup wasn't perfect today either, but we got a little bit to work on, and I think we can get there. The track was super deep, like me and Trey were talking about today. It was different from when we've been here before, for sure. They must have laid some fresh dirt on top of the track or turned it over really good. And but it wasn't drying up or getting blue grooved or nothing, so I think it's going to turn out to be a great weekend for everybody. And as long as you got the right setup, I think everybody's going to be competitive. I don't think anybody will be running away with it, so it should be good for the fans and good for the drivers. And I'm sure it's going to be back and forth in between us. There might be some fiberglass gone, but I wouldn't want it any other way.
Anything else you guys would say for like sponsors or anything else like that? Or thank you.
I'd like to thank Yokohama Tire. They came on big. I mean, they're really helping us out. And then everybody else that helps us out. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of people, but we got some small sponsors and stuff that I really appreciate.
Yeah, I just want to give a huge thanks. Obviously, Max just came on board, which huge tires are a big thing, and they've proved their tires already. So for them to come on board and trust me to join them and be a part of their team is a huge thing. Bill Science Shocks, Steal It, obviously my dad's business, K&B Engineering. All the other little guys that support me, they truthfully do a ton, and without them, it wouldn't all be possible. So cheers off to them, and hopefully I can make a good weekend for all of us.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, we're here at Erx for rounds 5 and 6 for the Champ Off-Road Series for the Pro 2 class. First question I want to start off with is for CORY Winner. In Crandon, a little too scared for the press conference. What's up?
I was hungry.
Yeah, grab the mic.
Oh, okay. I was hungry, Tito.
All right, moving on. Okay, so Mickey Thomas.
Simple question.
Obviously, big news for you. You just announced that you're going to be a father. So with that in mind, this weekend, I don't want to ask, is it going to be any sort of distraction, or is it going to be such like a big joyous thing this weekend where is your mindset going to change at all?
No, I don't think so. We've known for a while now. We just announced it publicly, me and my wife, yesterday. So we're super happy, super stoked. I'm excited to be growing the family. And no, same mindset. I'm going to be racing hopefully for many more years to come, and hopefully my kids, start racing as well in the future. So I'm excited, growing the racing team, and looking forward to it.
So then, sticking with you, Mickey. So far this race season, you've done tremendous. You're second in points. Something a little bit similar to last year, where you're up there, but you're not, losing races anymore. What's been the difference from last year to this year? Is it a stroke of luck, or is it just you maybe driving a little bit differently, a little more conservatively, being okay, knowing like, hey, I may be in third, I don't need a hard charge for the next spot?
Yeah, I think we have the same mindset. Like Crandon had a few little mishaps that set us back. Got a flat on the Sunday mud race, and honestly had a good race on Saturday. Just couldn't work around CORY, but had a fast truck all weekend. Like I think we're in the same spot. Really didn't make a lot of changes to the truck from last year because we had such a good truck last year. Just kind of trying to stay smooth and hit my lines, not do anything stupid. And I still think we're in a good spot this year. Got a 6 invert today, not going to help us out for tomorrow, but it seems like those things never go my way. But it is what it is, and we're going to make the best of it.
And then moving down to CORY, then, same story, same year. You're third in points. Again, you're Mr. Consistent. What's that mindset then, I guess, for you, seeing as how it's been kind of the same thing for the last 3 years? Is there any sort of like spark there? Is there something like kind of how Mickey had, where your goal is to have just the most amount of wins? Kind of what are you trying to do differently from the last 2 years to make this year different?
Kind of like what he said, had the same mindset. Like I was kind of telling you guys, I don't go out there just like being content with how I'm sitting in third. Let's just stay there. It's like I want to push to win, and I want to be there to win. But like at the end of the day, like I'm here to win a championship for my sponsors. That's one of the main goals, and being so close the last 2 or 3 years is like that's extra motivation right there for us. So, that's my goal. Like I want to win every race, but realistically, you just gotta let the race come to you sometimes and see where you're sitting, and then make the smart decisions. But have the same mindset as years past, and we did some changes to the truck this year just to see if we can improve or find something, and it's been working out for us, and we've just been cranking along on it and learning stuff every weekend. So it's been good. Already having 3 podiums out of the last 4 races is a great start for us, and still sitting in third in points. So we're still a little bit back there, but it's a good, solid beginning of the year for us. So, just being consistent again, but just trying to run up front every time I can.
And then obviously then moving on to Ricky. Ricky, you started out great last year. You had a dub, you had a win, leading points at one point. Now you're fourth in points. I think you're 30, 35 back. Nothing too crazy. What's kind of then your mindset and knowing it's a bit of a change from last year? Is it just kind of that experience knowing like, hey, I've kind of been in this position before? Or is it easier to kind of chase these guys rather than trying to defend that points lead?
Well, kind of like what Corey said. I mean, you kind of have to, at some point, you do have to be realistic. Like, in Anago, we started really strong. And then, like, going into Sunday, like, you can tell I was really trying to catch Mickey, and I just made a stupid mistake, like, just trying to charge for that win where I really should have just settled in. So, definitely learned my lesson, and at some point, I kind of have to be a little more realistic and settle in. And exactly what these guys said, sometimes you have to let the track come to you and let the race come to you, and just try to be the smarter driver. I mean, everyone here, I mean, the field's so competitive this year, and I don't know, it's just tight racing, and at some point you just have to settle down and be smart about it and just take what the track gives you and what the race will give you.
So what then I want is kind of your guys' thoughts on the Crandon Cup race. Two, you guys raced it, one you didn't. Obviously you guys have different reasons for it, and I think that, on the podcast we were able to kind of talk about it, but maybe in this situation more people get to understand it on why Ricky, you raced it, Mickey, you raced it, but Corey, you didn't. Kind of, I guess, just give a quick rundown on why you guys decided to not participate in the Cup race.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I come out here to race. We spend a lot of money coming out here to, I mean, we move our whole entire race program to Wisconsin, and I'm going to race whatever race, I can do, and it was pretty gnarly getting all the mud off after that mud race, but we did it and we got ready for the Cup race, and I don't know, I'm here to race at the end of the day, and whatever Cup race it is, even after a mud race, I'm going to do it. So just having fun, that's what it's all about pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much exactly what Ricky said. We're out here to have fun, race what we can, and honestly, there's a big payout for that Crandon race, the 10 grand. Like, we were after that. We thought we had potential chance to go out there and win that, and we wanted to give it a shot. So didn't work out, got second, but like you said, we're out here to race. The mud race was tough. Definitely stressed the crew and myself out getting that thing cleaned up and ready to go, and we ran hot that morning race too, so it was questionable for us, but at the end of the day we just said, look, let's go out, have some fun, see if we can win this thing, and at least learn something. We tried a couple new things on the truck. It's kind of a freebie, just throw some setup stuff at it and see if it works. So we took that opportunity to do that and learned a few things, and had a good time. So glad we did it.
Yeah, so after that mud race, that's job in itself, as everybody knows. Just getting through that one and try not to get as much damage as you can, and having to clean up after that, and having a second race the same day. That it wasn't that much of a big of a deal for us, but it was really just like we're sitting in a good spot, and everybody dealt with cutbacks and the sport and drivers and sponsorships and all that stuff. So we had some unfortunate stuff happen during testing that kind of took some of that cost from us and things. So nothing against like the purses that's out there, and everybody's doing what they can to help our sport, and but to go out there and race against guys, and one guy's only going to get 10 grand. Not everybody can. So it's like, yeah, you want to go out there and race, but if I go out there for X amount and I blow a motor up for 30 or 40, and it's like, well, what did I go out there? Like that's part of the tough decisions that we got to make, and that's just kind of the spot we were put in, and we had a solid weekend, and the truck was in great shape. Like, we could have gone out there, but like we kind of just said, let's focus on the next rounds and making sure we're prepared for all of these points races that we're here to really actually do, and get a good result for our sponsors at the end of the year. So it was a tough decision. Like I said, there's no malice towards any of the guys shipping in for sponsorship for that race in Crandon, any guys that raced it, any guys that didn't race it. It was a tough decision. And like I wasn't expecting the weather to not clear up for us. That's another big reason I didn't want to. I'm like, there's no point. Like, if it downpours, why is a Pro 2 going to go out there? Like, but yeah, it was a tough call, but unfortunate, and I know the fans really would have liked having more than 5 trucks out there, but yeah, hopefully we'll definitely do the cup race at Fall Crandon, but that was a decision that was made, so that's kind of our point of view.
Anybody got a Pro 2 question now? All right. Last question that I'll ask you guys, and it's just kind of like ERX then. You guys have been here. You guys have tangled before, as we've seen in Rush. What are you guys feeling about ERX? It's a very, technical track. How comfortable? I know you guys might be super comfortable being from the West Coast. Mickey, you comfortable here at ERX?
Yeah, I love this track. Like, probably one of my favorite ones. It's real technical. It's one of the few tracks where you've got multiple lines that you can work around, try to make something work. Going out in practice was a little rusty. It's been a while since I've been here. Was trying different lines, with that split lane, inside, outside, through the whoops. You can mix some things up. So just trying to work through practice and figure out what was fast. And then qualifying, we were able to put it together and put her on pole. But yeah, I love this track, and it's a tough track to pass sometimes. But they've made some changes this weekend that I think are going to play into making some better racing. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I really love coming here. As far as Tito kind of disagrees with me, this is my favorite track actually to drive on, and facility is awesome. I really love coming here, and I had some bad luck the first time I came here in a Pro 2, but that's way in the past. So yeah, we've had great results here, and I love driving on this track. Like Mickey said, it's technical and it gives you a little bit of everything. Multiple options, like the Talladega turn, you got 2 different inside outside, but then before that you got to decide what lane you're running in to get there. That lane's full of sand, it always gets rutted up, so it's super technical for us. Yeah, it's just really fun. It's really it. Like, and we came here and we tested here a lot for a whole weekend, and we were feeling really comfortable, and I had some confidence coming in this weekend, and just like Mickey said, we were able to get it together, and we qualified second and right behind him. So off to a solid start, and hopefully we have the same results come race day.
Yeah, exactly what these guys said. I mean, this track's super fun, technical. Got pretty much a little bit of everything. We've been pretty quick here, like almost the past 4 years we've been coming here. We podiumed almost every time. So I don't know, it's gonna be fun. I struggled definitely today in qualifying, but I don't know, it's gonna get pretty busy up front. Everyone's really fast, and the times are somewhat pretty close. So it'll be a fun race to watch.
All right, gentlemen, we are here for rounds 5 and 6 at ERX for the Pro 4, the Champ Off-Road Series. First question I've got for the both of you, seeing as how you both have this experience, I want to know, how do you guys navigate when it comes to that final turn at Crandon and getting into a Monster Energy driver?
How do we navigate it?
How do you navigate those waters? Whenever something like that grabs you.
It's got to be the hammer, not the nail.
I love this guy.
When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I don't know if you looked at a Monster Energy truck. Sometimes they look like a nail.
I have no comment. But I do agree with him.
So obviously this season, Jimmy, you're at the last press conference and having a really good season, at Ango. And we'd asked you about kind of being that guy who's stepping up, going against CJ. And you proved it at Crandon. Once again, where you were there Saturday, you were there Sunday, you were there at the Cup race. Has that done wonders for your confidence, and how do you feel coming into this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of our confidence. Last year and the year before we had some speed. Last year we had speed, but we couldn't put races together. So we could turn a fast lap, we could qualify on pole, but we couldn't put the race together. This year we built the truck and the parts, spare parts. Pro 4 eats parts. So we've done a lot with that. But as far as a driver, yeah, Crandon was huge for my confidence. That's something I've been missing for a lot of years because I took 5 years off from racing. It took a while to kind of get that back. So yeah, Crandon was huge. We came here, we're not as fast as we want to be, but like there's so many options with split lanes and then the split turn in Talladega, like which one to run during qualifying. We had issues in practice that really didn't get any good practice laps in because just engine trouble, whatever. So yeah, confidence is there. I mean, we're sitting 5th for tomorrow, but I feel very confident that we're going to put it together. We're close enough on lap times, and we know we can run a full race now. I have confidence I can go out there, take care of the truck, be there in the end, and we'll see where we're at. So.
And then for you, Andrew, you've stepped back as far as a full-time Pro 4 driver goes, but it's your home track. Kind of what's that mentality when you were at Crandon, now you're at Erx? Is it just kind of like hey, like I'm out here to go out and win, there's no point championship? Do you enjoy kind of being that spoiler part of it then?
Yeah, and I mean, we've always gone for wins and had good luck here in the past, and but like Jimmy said, these trucks eat parts, and last year there was definitely races we showed up to with cracks in places on the frame that we had to patch together and parts that weren't 100% perfect, or showing up with maybe one good drivetrain part hoping it lasts all weekend. And it's really hard to not let that affect your driving. And in these trucks, you can't go out and drive them 90%. You got to hammer on them, otherwise you're not going to be up front. So I would say for me personally, just this is the most prepared we've been. Obviously, that a lot of that is just we're picking the races that we feel our trucks are competitive at and aren't going to wreck some of these parts and spoil us for when we get to the big races like here and Erx, the ones that we need to be able to show up and win at those races. And I think it's helped our parts program and just the truck prep and testing. Like, it's cost so much money to bring these trucks to the track, and to bring them to the track and not be 100% certain that you can go out and win is tough. You're basically wasting money. So we just said, hey, we're going to focus and laser focus on these events, and when we go, we're going to go to win. We're going to go well tested. We're going to go with the right parts. And for me as a driver, it takes a lot of the other things I worry about out of my brain, and it really lets me just go drive. And obviously here, we're familiar with the track and love racing here. There's a little added pressure just being at the home track, and I think everyone thinks it so well and all this. And I mentioned it yesterday on the Champ Off-Road podcast. It's like there's only one time a year the track ever gets this rough, and I get to see it the same amount of time everybody else does. So if it was perfectly groomed and mint every lap, I think we'd have a little advantage. But it goes away pretty quick when I go into turn 2 and I almost hit the fence because it's so slippery. I'm like, what in the heck happened in here? So I would just say laser focused on just winning these races and showing up. We're not in points, so kind of feels silly to go up for qualifying and qualify P1 and then get not even an option to start on the pole. And they say, like, oh, you got 5 points. Well, I'm not really in it for points. So some of it's a little silly, but, we're here racing. We had a good time on track today, and we're ready for tomorrow.
Back to you then, Andrew. So let's say you get on a good roll. Let's say Erx is a good start. Would there be any potential of you racing at Lena or Mark River, Crandon, kind of finish out the schedule if you get into a roll?
Yeah, I mean, you can't have 2 rounds in a row that you get 0 points at and still be a contender for points. So that's kind of out of it, right? But we're gonna miss Lena. Just nothing against Lena. It's really hard to race Pro 4s on that track and not waste a bunch of money. I love the track. I love it in the UTVs. We're gonna be there. We'll be racing. So other than that, the rest of the season we're planning on racing. So it sounds like we're gonna go to Bark River now, and I definitely want to go to Oklahoma and check that out, and wouldn't miss Crandon. So it's really just Anago and Lena, and looking at it strategically, like, those races are in the heart of the season when it's tight turnaround time and you got to get these trucks flipped around. It's a lot of work to get these trucks flipped and do it the way we need to do it. So I'd love to go race Lena. We've actually led a lot of laps there and done pretty well in the Pro 4, but we've also wrecked a lot of stuff and cartwheel trucks and who knows what else. But it's tough to, I'd be bummed if people didn't come here and race other races, but just for me and my program this year, that's what's in the cards. So maybe next year we'll be back full force, and we'll see.
And then for you, Jimmy, the question is then, obviously Andrew's not racing at Andigo. You're racing at Elk River, and then we've got a guy, RJ, who does that too. Races here, race at Crandon. With you in your battle, kind of going with CJ, essentially kind of you guys being the de facto two people, does that add any sort of different game plan for you, knowing that you have to navigate around guys like potentially Andrew, or potentially RJ, who are very talented, skilled drivers, while still competing with CJ?
Yeah, I mean, it does change it. It changes a lot of things, because like a DNF this weekend, having a lot more people in the field can change everything in points. It could go CJ's way, it could go my way. A flat tire after the halfway caution could change the points battle for the whole year. So yeah, it's a big opportunity, which kind of goes back to I need to take care of my equipment. And kind of to what he's saying, like right now my truck's smoking like crazy. Just because I can't change the motor. I have one more motor and we got so many events left, I can't change it at this point. So it just kind of is what it is. It's every week trying to get the truck back together, changing diffs, changing transmissions, and there's a lot of stuff that happens during the week that people don't see. That's you pretty much have to go all the way through the Pro 4 truck. It just eats it. And but as far as strategy wise, I mean, you look at Andrew and you got RJ, both of them are fast guys that are capable of winning and capable of shaking up, a podium. Like both of them could be on the podium, and, I could be in second, CJ could be in fourth, I could be in fourth, CJ could be in second, or something like that. Like they're two guys very capable of getting a podium, getting a win, and it's going to change the way, the points battle looks here and any time that they're at the track, because when it's five of us, it's five of us, and it's a different strategy. It's like, okay, we got opportunity, but here we're having to battle two other guys that are very fast and very competitive, and we do have to think about points. I go in the corner and I bash him, I blow a tire, I'm sitting eighth, not fifth, and the points difference is quite a bit different. So we got to be very patient this weekend and be smart. We're still racing to win no matter what, but I can't just go out and try to pass three people in the first turn. It's not going to be that kind of weekend. It's going to be a weekend where we're just going to be methodical about it, and hopefully we do it better than CJ does.
So I got two questions left. At Crandon, you seem to be the crowd favorite. It's your hometown track. Who do you think is going to be the crowd favorite this weekend?
I'm hoping for one of those Rocky IV scenes where everybody's like, Andrew, 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 and then at the end of the race, they're like, Henderson, woo! I'm just saying, I mean.
Yeah, I think a big piece is like whoever's up there battling. I think if one guy runs away with the thing, the fans get shorted out. I think they'll literally cheer for who's ever making the race fun to watch, right? Like, we've seen RJ come here and mix it up. LeDuc's ran well with CJ. Like, some of the best Pro 4 races I've rewatched have been here. Not, I am slightly biased, but it makes for good racing. So I really think people don't care. They just want to watch trucks, race hard and battle for that win and come down to the last lap. And I really think, like Jimmy said, like there's all this now, we need strategy and all this, but at the end of the day, I do know we all want to win really bad. And all that work that he's talking about during the week, like, it's really hard to be patient, but at the same time, like, that's not all for nothing. Like, I want to win for my crew guys and for everyone that's slaving, and so does everybody else. Like, it's not like it's just me. So it's gonna, if there's a chance that anybody can make a last lap pass and maybe run a little rough, like it's gonna happen. Like, Jimmy and I could be best friends, but I'd probably take him out for a penny. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, yeah. So I mean, we obviously need to be respectful and keep this clean and not be wrecking each other's trucks, and we need to be able to put a show on for the fans the next day too, and all this, and have respect for each other as drivers. But we all, like, it, without being said, we're all going to hammer down and push hard. And I think that's where that's where it gets fun, right? It's the hard part in Pro 4 is keeping them together, but the interesting part in Pro 4 is not everyone keeps them together. Like, you can go from 5th to 1st many times. I've seen it happen. Like, it ain't over. So, I'm just excited to see it shake out and love racing here, and I just want to put on a show.
Yeah, and that's one thing about, about this track in particular. Crandon's got a lot of opportunity to pass, but like Lena and Anago, very tight. You takes a couple laps to put a good pass together, a clean pass. But here with the split lanes, the Talladega turn, even like in Ziegler, like you can put a move on somebody pretty easy in Ziegler. So like he's saying, I think it happened to RJ last year. Like RJ got a little wide in Ziegler, LeDuc, CJ, boom, right by him. Like stuff, that's the one thing ERX does bring. Like if the field is tight, and I think the top 5 are within a couple tenths, other than Andrew's last lap, like the top 5 is kind of stacked. You might see us go from like 1st, 5th to 3rd to, it could be that type of race, and we've seen that here. But it's the track that's been built. It gives you those opportunities where you make one mistake, you might get passed by 2 guys. I think it was last year where we had like 5 guys, and literally it's all in one camera shot. That was cool. That's awesome racing. That's what I love about this track. So pretty pumped for the weekend.
Last question I got then is kind of a one I got messaged me just kind of from a fan or like a racer. What would be your advice to somebody who's like in a the sportsman class, or somebody who's in a lower class, to advance their career and they want to make this, let's say they're young or middle-aged or whatever it is, how do they advance their career? Need some advice from Pro 4 guys who are at the top of the food chain, I guess.
Well, I mean, I had a lot of years in motorsports, circle track, asphalt, raced asphalt, circle track many years, raced road course, did legends, did NASCAR, had quite a long list of career. When I came to this, I was very successful in the Pro Mod, turbo, whatever they call it now. Very successful in that, and I got into Pro 4 and I was like, sweet Jesus, these guys are crazy. Like this is like, you have to drive the death out of them. So it's like being prepared for that. For somebody to move into Pro 4, they better be the top of their game. Like that, you know what I mean? I wouldn't tell somebody running middle pack in Pro Mod to be like, yeah, go buy a Pro 4. But somebody that's competitive and has the financing or has sponsors, the team needs to be built before you get there. You better have a good crew chief. You better have a good mechanic. You need to have a good engine program. So it needs to be built, and I wouldn't rush it. Because if you rush into a Pro 4 program, I just don't think you'll be successful unless you're, like somewhere where KGB, which is a very talented driver and a very successful driver, he'll have a pretty good first season. If that's how things go, it kind of looks like he's going to be in John's seat. That's a good program. It's built, it's there. That would be a good way to do it. But to build a team the way like I built a team from nothing, I couldn't have done it without the help of a lot of people. I had a good crew chief, and the amount of work is unbelievable. Like I'm telling you, 7 o'clock in the morning until midnight, like all the time. It's just like regular hours. So that and financing, the engine program and the transmission parts and the front diffs. I mean, you just never know where $2,000 CV throws balls out and you're doing donuts in the middle of the cup race. You know what I mean? So it's like things like that over a rubber boot that fell off. So it's a lot to it. I would just be patient, don't rush it, and make sure you got a good team built around you, and make sure you have good financing behind you. And that's why I like you look at Pro Spec. Like Pro Spec's a great way to get into the trucks. It gets you out of a side-by-side into a truck, not super expensive, and Chad Rayford might smoke you every week for a while, but once you can beat Rayford and Gray Ledbetter, then yeah, okay, maybe you want to think about it, so.
Yeah, I would just say I think a big thing as racers is, and I did it through my career, is it's like I find myself being like, when you're in a UTV, you're like, if I could only get in a Pro Light. And I've heard so many other racers say it. It's like, man, I just want to get into a truck. And then once you're in a Pro Light, you're like, oh man, I'd be happy if I was in Pro 2, and then you're in Pro 2, and you're like, oh, I just want to get to Pro 4. And I think, like, looking back at my career, like, really happy with all the steps I made, and I feel like I did a lot of them at a good opportunity and a good time. But I think the thing I would focus on, instead of like, oh man, I want to be in that pro class, or I want to get to here, I would just focus on like, where can I get the most experience for the least amount of money, whether that's a UTV or whatever it is. Like, I honestly think I would have been better off if I would have done a few less years in some of the pro trucks, to the two-wheel drive pro truck classes, and gotten into a turbo sooner to get the four-wheel drive experience and to be able to like transfer that. And like, Pro 4 is not the place to cut your teeth. Like, it is not the place to gain racing experience. It is extremely expensive to get racing experience in Pro 4. I don't care what anybody tells you. All those parts are custom made, and they're not quickly made, and it comes with a lot of money. And I think, like Jimmy said, like you need to have the program dialed, otherwise you're just gonna be shredding dollar bills. So you'd be better off just giving me your money, and I'll take you out back and kick you in the nuts, and then you'll have the same ending, right? Like, you'll have a pit in your stomach, and you won't have any money. So same ending. But I think either way, like, wherever you're at, if you're getting laps and you're finishing all your races and you're gaining experience, every class out here, sportsman, pro, everything, the person that's winning is doing a lot of things well. And if you can go out and beat them, it's not an easy task. So I think you need to be at the top of your game in your class before you even think about moving. And the big thing that I focused on early in my racing was, like, the worst thing that could happen my first race ever is if I went out there and broke on lap 1. Because then you paid the same amount of money, but you got literally 1 lap. And that's all laps that you could have had experience. So I think taking it at a pace that you need to finish, even if you're not in a points championship, but thinking of your driving experience as points, like, you need all those points. You need to finish all the laps. And when you look in stock truck and some of these guys, like, I guarantee you there are sleepers in some of those classes. Like, you could grab Joey Machosik and put him in a Pro 2, he'd probably drive the wheels off of it, because he's made a lot of that, like, experience through these classes. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't, like, if he would have jumped into Pro 2 5 years ago, he probably could be where he's at right now, but it would have cost him a lot more money. So I think, like, be happy where you're at and finish all your laps and push your truck to the limit. And when you get to the point where your program's strong enough where you can go to the next step, like, don't hamstring yourself and go there without funding or go there without support or the right team, because all it's going to do is waste money quicker. So, long story short. Sweet.